All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another webinar from DQ&A, this time on a more publisher-related topic, Ad Manager 360 and Ad Exchange. With me, I've got two colleagues, Kelly and Boy, who will lead you through the presentation. I'm Fabian, I'm your host. Just in terms of organization, please feel free to ask any questions within the chat. We will certainly answer your questions after the webinar so that we can go through it and take care of all the questions that needs attending afterwards. And now I'm going to hand over to my dear colleagues, Boy and Kelly.
Good afternoon. My name is Boy. Let me shortly introduce myself. I've been working with a Dutch publisher for over 6 years in-house, doing all the ad ops, tech implementation, ad service setup, etc., yield management. I now work since last December here at DQ&A to consult our clients in the use of Ad Manager and Ad Exchange. And maybe Kelly, you also want to do a short introduction of yourself?
Yes, great. Thanks for giving me the floor. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. I've been in ad operations for about 7 years. I've been on the publisher side for about 3 years, working with DQ&A exclusively for that time. We work a lot with technical support, in-depth, advanced structures in Ad Manager, as well as yield management through Ad Exchange. So it's lovely to meet you all.
Okay, let's get started. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about some advanced topics and in terms of Ad Exchange, a little bit more the basics, but I hope for everybody there's something new over here. So first with Ad Exchange, we're going to talk about the most common topics within Ad Exchange and the important settings you need to think of. After that, we're going to talk about how to use creative templates to make work a little bit easier and making beautiful advertisements within Ad Manager. After that, advanced reporting using Google Data Studio. I have a quick tip for line item filters for the traffickers that do a lot of direct deals managed within Ad Manager to make life a little bit easier. Then we're going to talk about key values and audiences and how you can actually monetize this through the buying platform, DV360. And we have a small slide about YouTube cross-sell. So, Ad Exchange. There are basically 4 types of ways that you can interact with a buyer within programmatic, especially for Ad Exchange. So the first way is to do business on the open auction. Basically, everybody can buy inventory, and you can manage that by setting up certain blocking rules or protections and pricing rules. Then you can set up open auctions. That's basically the same, private auctions. That's basically the same as an open auction, but you only give access to a select number of buyers. Then you have preferred deals. Those are one-on-one deals with buyers, where you set a certain CPM price and certain targeting on your deals, on your inventory or key values. And then you have guaranteed deals. It's also a one-on-one deal with your advertiser, but just as with the old times, it's a guaranteed number of impressions, a guaranteed CPM, and a guaranteed budget that will be spent. So the advertiser knows exactly how many impressions they're going to get, and you as a publisher, maybe more important, exactly know that you're going to get the budget that the buyer is promising you. So those are basically the 4 types of deals in a big table. In gray, you see the traditional based deals, and basically it's almost the same as programmatic guaranteed, but you don't have to send invoices anymore. The whole business goes through Ad Exchange. So how to set up Ad Exchange? Well, after you connected the systems with each other, I won't bore you with that, but then you're really going to set up your strategy. And to start with the open market, we're going to start with the pricing rules. You can make a pricing rule per targeting type, so on certain inventory, certain edge units, certain key values, but also, for instance, certain creative sizes. And what is really important to know with the pricing rules is that when you make multiple pricing rules, there are priority types. So basically, the pricing rule that stands on top has priority over the pricing rule that stands below it. When you have certain pricing rules with overlapping inventory, it's really important to keep this in mind, since you might want to set up a certain rule for a certain type of inventory that would be below another pricing rule that then won't be affected at all. So basically, when you have a run-of-network pricing rule, you set it on the bottom, and when you have more specific criteria like larger ad sizes, you put it more on the top. So when you set up a pricing rule, you can set different kind of targeting on the top of the screen. But let's focus now on which kind of pricing you can set up that you see over here. You have two types of pricing. In the past, you only had a floor price, but recently Google also added the target CPM. And this basically means is that you set a CPM that you want to reach on average, but the floor price is fluid, it's dynamic. And what is exactly the difference between branded, semi-transparent, and anonymous? Well, branded means that when a buyer targets on your inventory using the buying platform, they do, for instance, a domain whitelist. If they specifically target on your inventory, they are able to reach this inventory for this price. The price that is set at anonymous are for all buyers that are not specifically targeting on your inventory. So you might want to set that a bit lower, since the buyers don't really see an extra value of targeting you as a domain, but they're more targeting their users. Also, in terms of reporting, with branded, the buyer sees your URL in the report. With anonymous, they won't be able to see your URL in the reporting. Semi-transparent is a little bit in between. With semi-transparent, you can only target the main domain and not certain subdomains. Next up, setting up your protections. With protections, it's really important to see the difference between certain categories. For instance, sensitive categories and general categories. Most of the time, you would want to block all the sensitive categories if you want to have a safer experience for your visitors. But there might be some sensitive categories that you want to allow to gain more revenue. Basically, the more you block, the less revenue you get. So you have to find that fine balance between revenue and types of ads you want to show. But also within general categories, you might want to block certain things. For instance, politics is part of the general categories. Maybe for some news websites that want to stay super independent, blocking politic ads maybe also a strategy. What's also really important to keep in mind are the opt-ins. That's basically the opposite of blocking, but it's in the same blocking rule menu, is that you can allow certain restricted categories like gambling or ad experience like in-banner video over here. If you don't opt in these techniques or categories, they won't show. And yeah, especially for in-banner video, it might be useful to allow those. So then we're going to talk about exchange bidding. So we're going to go a little bit more advanced over here. Exchange bidding is basically the counterpart of header bidding. With header bidding, you allow multiple SSPs to sell your inventory through a client-side or server-side script. And especially with the client-side script on your website, you might get the problem that you get latency. The website will load slower, which also is bad for your viewability. So in a lot of cases, it's good for your revenue, but there are also some cases where it's really negative on the user experience and actually on your in your advertising experience that it might impact your revenue. Well, Google has come up with something called exchange bidding. It's already running for a while, which lets you add the SSP server side within ad managers, and Google basically handles the bidding within. So you still set up all your pricing rules and all your strategies within the SSPs itself, but eventually when an ad call is made, all the SSPs within exchange bidding will do a bid, and eventually, of course, they bid together with ad exchange, and the highest bidder will win. There are a lot of positives here. You have no latency. You have a unified platform where you can do your reporting. You do have a bit more cookie loss within exchange bidding because it goes through another party, through Google. But overall, we see really good results over here. So we want to clarify a little bit how to set it up because it's quite easy once it's enabled. So what you would do is start with, within the company tab, adding a company, which should be an ad network. So you select new company, ad network. And then you fill in, you select the right ad network and you fill in the name that you want to give it. Often you just use the same name. And if this ad network is part of the exchange bidding program, you can select enable for exchange bidding. This is an option that should be enabled within your ad manager account. If you don't have this option, please let us know so we can help you set this up. After you added the SSP, you go to yield groups and you create a new yield group. You can create one yield group for all the SSPs you are managing, or you can just create a yield group per SSP. In this case, we just have an example for one SSP, Pubmatic. And then you can also select certain targeting. Maybe you only want a third-party SSP for one of your websites, another one of network, or just for certain sizes, or just video. Just like with pricing rules, you can set this over here. After you're done with that, you activate the exchange bidding partner, and after you saved it, it's added as a yield group. You actually see two right now because we went ahead and added one for web and one for mobile app, and you also have SSPs for video. Basically, that's it. After you set this up, and most importantly, also set up the connection within the SSP, because often in the other SSP, you would have to fill in or let the SSP partners over there set up your publisher ID from ad manager within that SSP. And after that is set up, you're basically connected and it will run. And yeah, funny thing here, as you can see in Pubmatic, with payment settings, it will just say payment will be made to you directly by Google. So no bank tax information is required. Also a part of exchange bidding that's really easy. You don't have multiple statements you need to send over to multiple SSPs. Also a really important part is your publisher profile. A lot of publishers didn't look into this and haven't set up any publisher profile. A publisher profile basically makes you visible in the market for advertisers. So if advertisers are searching for certain audiences or certain verticals, they will be able to find you. If you didn't publish your profile, they won't be able to find you. They can still target on you and make deals with you, but yeah, it gets a little bit harder to get discovered. So where do you go? In the sales tab, you go to deal settings and you set up a new profile. As you can see in this test account, we set up a profile for DQ&A, which is, when you make a new profile, you can fill in all these details. And these are basically presets, so the introduction and why partnering with us and the headlines, sample URL, descriptions, logos. So in the end, in the marketplace for buyers, this will look the same for every publisher, so they can easily filter out your content. Which is also really important. After you saved your profile and published it, you cannot unpublish it anymore. But you can select the option on the top left. No buyers can make offers to you. For instance, when you get transferred to a second edX account and you need to get rid of this profile, for instance. So how will this look like within the DV360 marketplace? DV360 is the buying platform from Google, where advertisers and agencies can discover you. So on the left, you see a greened out marketplace under the inventory tab within DV360. And there the advertisers get a full list of all the publishers that are on AdExchange or on Rubicon, because Rubicon is also a part of this project for the marketplace. And on the right side, they can set certain filters. For instance, over here we set user geo Netherlands, but you can also select certain verticals or ages. And then it will basically filter out the publishers that have most impressions within those filters. So here you can see DQ&A. It's here present within the marketplace and discoverable for buyers. And the information that we filled in is not all, because you also get an inventory summary on audiences, which is based on Google data, Google profile data. So you will see gender, male, female, user geo, device type, age, and also your own data, your inventory size, and certain verticals you're active in, and your top domains. In this case is grayed out. And here you profile the exact same text that we filled in before in Ad Manager. What's really nice is that when you are activated over here, that an advertiser can actually request a proposal right from this menu to request a direct deal with you or a guaranteed deal. The advertiser can basically fill in the request details over here. And after this is sent, it will come in as an incoming proposal on your site. Talking about proposals, we often see that publishers actually make the proposals to advertisers after you've been in contact with them with email or phone. Programmatic means that everything goes automatically, but of course the business is still human work. So how to set up a proposal? This changed a bit over time. In the past, AdExchange was a different system connected to Ad Manager. Now it's integrated with Ad Manager. And as most of you might remember, it used to be called preferred deals. Google changed that. It's now all within the proposals tab, and it's aligned with booking orders and line items on the traditional way. So it makes it a lot easier and more understandable, and you get a few more options. In my personal experience, it's a lot easier to set up deals a lot quicker than before. So where do we do this? Well, it's in the sales tab under proposals. And when you create a proposal, you basically first get into your main settings, where you set the advertiser and the buyer. The buyer part is really important. The advertiser is basically the advertiser that you set up in your own Ad Manager system on the advertisers. And the buyer is the seed ID for the DSP that you select over here. So here we selected ourselves as a buyer, so we can also show how it will look like on the other side later on. And after you're done that, you basically get in the order overview. Just like with the traditional orders, you can set up line items. And after you clicked setting up a new line item, it would look like this. So this is almost the same as a traditional line item, but we really have to focus here on the type of deal. There are three types. You have sponsorship, standard, and preferred deal. With sponsorship, so I'll go over to here. So you have sponsorship and standard. What's the difference? With sponsorship, it's just like with a traditional sponsorship deal. You will give a certain percentage of your total impressions to an advertiser in a certain period. For instance, if you want to sell a homepage takeover that needs to run for a full day sponsorship on the homepage, you can do that. And you have the standard line items, which is a start date, end date, certain amount of impressions with a certain CPM. This is basically the guaranteed deal. Both of them are guaranteed. And within guaranteed deals, you can actually choose who hosts the creative. If the advertiser provides the creative, or if you host the creative. So that's a new function here in Ad Manager. And what's great about this is that if you have certain creative templates or rich media templates, like a homepage takeover, that you want to host yourself and have control over, then this is a really nice new function. Actually, with homepage takeovers, which rich media templates like Weborama or CSMAC that are specially designed for your website, you will always have to select Publisher Managed. So that's a really nice new opportunity to sell your premium inventory programmatically. And what you would do with both of these deals is that you set a contracted quantity of impressions, where in the end, a little bit more below under the rate, you will see the costs, and that cost is guaranteed. When you want to make a non-guaranteed deal, you select the type preferred deal. So that's actually the same as the preferred deals used to be called in the past. And here you basically set the start date and end date. You set a rate, and you can set an estimated quantity. So the buyer is not contracted to deliver these impressions. They can always optimize, and often you see you wouldn't get as much impressions as you would get with a guaranteed deal. So from a sales perspective, I would always advise to go for guaranteed deals, so you know you will get your budgets. After you set up your line item, it shows up here in the order. Actually, in this case, it's called a proposal, but you can see the comparisons with the traditional orders, of course, over here. And then you will request acceptance. And after you requested the acceptance, the status will go into in review, and we go into phase 2, buyer acceptance. So now it's the turn of the buyer to make the next step. So here we are in DV360 again, the buying platform, and the buyer will see under the tab negotiations that a new proposal is coming in. And when they click on the proposal, they will see the full details. They only have to click on accept to accept the proposal, and after that the buyer can set up their whole campaign targeted on this proposal. Okay, so that's for programmatic. I think for a lot of you, these are a lot of basic steps. For some of you, some new things are told over here. If you have any questions about it, please let us know. We'll share our contact details in the presentation. And of course, we will do the questionnaire later on. So now we're going to into some different smaller topics, starting with creative templates. So creative templates give you the ability to serve quite complex, rich media banners with changing contents. So, for instance, if you have a rich media banner that you use for native campaigns all the time, and every week you're setting up multiple line items with different messages in them, it could be quite a lot of work if you need to let your creative agency make different creative all the time. Basically, you can let them make one creative, which you then can set up in a template, which creates a form for you that you can use every time to set up your campaign, which makes it really fast and easy. How do you do this? You go into the Creative tab on the delivery, and you select New Creative. So how this works, you start with the code snippet that you can see here below. In the code snippet, you set up your HTML file. Of course, this is a really simple example, but you can make the most complex HTML5. You can make slideshows, animations. You can even connect with certain feeds to make the data automatically come in. But let's just start with this really simple example. So we have an HTML code here, and what we want to do is set variables. That's what you do here. So let's make one for the title. So we select, it's a text input, we call it title, and we save it. Then the variable is added over here, and what you can see is that we can put the placeholder within the right part of the HTML file. So we replace the standard text in the HTML for a placeholder, and later on this placeholder is used for you to set the context in a form. We do this for a few more contents of the creative template. I'm sorry. So we do it also for text and the clickout URL. So after we save this, let's set up a line item, really creative. And when you save your line item and you get into the creative screen, you can choose for a user-defined template, and you select the template that we just created. Then you will get this form for the title, text, and URL. Those are the placeholders we made. We just fill in what we want to fill in here. So this is really fast and easy. And after we saved it, it will roll out the HTML ad. Of course, it's a really ugly one, but it's really nice to see how easy you can set this up. And of course, we also have a little bit more beautiful example for an animated HTML file, where you can see that text here, and actually also in this case, the background color, the logo of KPN, the call to action, it's all set within this form. So setting this up for a trafficker will maybe take 1 or 2 minutes, and can be used for hundreds of different campaigns. So that's it for creative templates. Then let's get into the advanced reporting with Data Studio. So the query tool within Ad Manager gives you a lot of data, but it's quite hard to combine this data with each other, to make cross-references, and maybe most important, to visualize it. Well, what a lot of publishers don't know is that Google has the Data Studio platform for this, and it's actually free. And when you have Ad Manager 360, you can connect this as a data source within Google Data Studio. So for everybody using Google Ad Manager 360, this is just a free service from Google that you can use on top of your 360 platform. So what you would do is you would connect your Ad Manager 360 to your data source. You get through some menus to select it. And then here you will see all the metrics that you can add to your data source. So of course you should add them all because you want to make get the most out of your reports. This is a step that takes 1 minute, just connecting it. And then you can start creating a dashboard. Within the dashboard, you can make multiple graphs, so you can make bars, you can make pie charts, you can even make maps with geolocations where certain campaigns have been served, or where you can find your own audiences. You can do a lot, and we're not going to go all in depth over here, but if you want to know more about it, please let me know so we can give you a proper demo. But for instance, when you select the pie chart over here, a pie chart pops up and you can select the right metrics you want to show over there. And eventually you can build up dashboards like these that automatically update by day. So you can just get yourself a bookmark to look into the dashboard, to see your own business analysis on a daily basis, make comparisons with data. You can export it as a PDF, but you can also set up certain dashboards per campaign for certain clients and give them access to it so they can get a live feed of the reports. It gives you better visual reports, but it also saves you a lot of time. Then I have a quick tip. Line item filters. This is for the traffickers that need to chase clients to get creatives in time, or need to optimize the line items for delivery. So actually, within the line item tab under delivery, I think a lot of you, of course, use it all the time, but you can set filters, which you can see here on top. And you can play a bit around with these filters to make life a little bit more easier for you. For instance, here I have a filter that says I only want to show the delivering line items, so line items that are currently live right now, which have a impression goal. So in that case, those are standard and bulk line items, which I then sort on end time. And what I see here is all the line items that are delivering sorted on the first day that will come. So you see 26th of April and then followed by 28th of April. So the most important line items for me to be delivered in full are the ones that will be delivered on a short term, of course. Because if something's wrong there, I need to take action there before I do it with other line items. So it gives you a really nice overview of where you need to take action. In this case, everything is running on schedule. But for instance, if the line item on the third row would be on 80%, I know that all my focus should go there to increase priority, for instance, or to increase the targeting. What you can actually do is make a bookmark when you're in the screen, because this bookmark will remember all the settings and you can go back to it anytime. Or you can save this as a saved filter, and the saved filter will also come up in your home screen, in your home dashboard. Myself, I find it easy to use the bookmark to get to it quickly. So a few other examples. You can do the same for completed line items. So every day you can check which line items completed recently if they delivered in full. And you can also use this as a check to send end reports to your clients. So it's a nice reminder every day. And maybe the nicest one, you can set the creative upload status is missing creatives. So you will see all the creatives all the line items that are currently missing creatives. And if you sort them on start time, you have a really good overview of the line items that are starting really soon that you need to chase the clients to send over the creatives. So that's a quick tip for line item filters. Now let's get into the more advanced features again. Key values and audiences. So you can actually set up key values within Ad Manager that communicate with the data layer within your website. So a lot of publishers doing this, but we also see publishers that are not really using this data yet. Often this data is already used by analytics, for instance, and you can also use it in Ad Manager. For instance, what you can see here, language or platform, all the data in the data layer you can use and use for targeting within your campaigns. What you can then do, which makes it even more interesting, is build up audiences with this targeting criteria. So under inventory, you go to audience, and you can create a new first-party audience segment. So for instance, when we see that somebody is getting an ad call with a key value French, we want to put them in a segment called French to retarget them later on. You can retarget them within your own platforms. So for instance, when you see this user later on a different website of yours where this key value is not present, you can still recognize this audience for retargeting. So in this case, we would set when language is FR, we want to put them in this audience, but you can also do this without key values. You can also just say when ad unit is a certain ad unit. So when somebody sees an ad within that ad unit, they will be added to this audience. So you can actually really easily make an audience per domain. What you can then also do, what you can see in the bottom, is set how many page views they should have had before they will be added in this audience, within which time period this should have been happened, and the membership expiration. What you can also do, even easier, is skip all the parts that we selected below and just click the box Audience Pixel Segment, which creates audience pixel code that you can export and just place on any web page you want. This you can actually also do for your advertisers. So, for instance, when you have an advertiser that wants to optimize their campaign by targeting their own audiences on your website, but you're not dealing through any programmatic channel, you can actually let the advertiser put this audience segment pixel on their own website. So you collect the audiences for them and you can target on these audiences. Of course, keep in mind the GDPR regulations here. Then going to audience extension. This gets really interesting, and we see this as a big trend that we are rolling out with a lot of publishers at the moment. Basically, for every publisher, this can generate extra income, but especially for niche publishers that has really specific audiences. So what you can do with your ad manager audiences, you can connect them directly to DV360, which is the buying platform. Not all publishers have access to this platform, but we can help you set this up to also monetize your audiences through audience extension. So what this basically does is that you build up audiences within your ad manager system, which you will buy back on other websites. So with the buying platform, you will buy impressions on different websites with different verticals within the programmatic landscape, where you target on your specific audience. So this is a user that has been on your website that is visiting another website later on. What you can do with this is monetize this by reselling it to your advertiser. So for instance, you have a niche website targeted on a really specific audience, but you don't have enough impressions to meet your revenue goals. For instance, you're sold out all the time and your advertiser has more budget, but you cannot just deliver it. Well, in that case, you can just buy these impressions elsewhere, targeted on your audiences. So it's still the relevant audiences for this advertiser. And you will buy it for a couple of euros, and you will ask the advertiser to pay you a couple of euros extra so you can make a profit on it. Depending on how niche you are and how relevant your audiences are and how much they are worth, you can make more or less profit on this. Of course, this needs a lot more detailed explanation. If you're interested in this, please let me know. And what we actually see with this is that within the whole landscape of the Google platforms is that we see publishers becoming advertisers, but also advertisers becoming publishers. You see more and more web shops, for instance, that are have a big history in advertising and converting clients into buying products, also becoming publishers because they build up data and they sell this data to other advertisers. So it's one big unified platform. And yeah, we're really happy that all the Google systems within the environment can help you do that. Last topic, YouTube cross-sell. For the publishers that also own YouTube channels and selling their pre-rolls over there, it's actually possible to do this through Ad Manager 360. For that, the functionality needs to be enabled. We can set it up with your YouTube account manager from Google. And after this would have been enabled, you get a special ad unit within Ad Manager where you can sell campaigns programmatically through Ad Manager instead of doing it through YouTube. If you want to have more information about this, we can also get you more information. And one last thing, because we get a lot of questions about this, the unified pricing first price auction. What is exactly the rollout plan for this? We also like to share it in this presentation, and on a later webinar we are going to in full depth about this topic, because of course everybody is busy with this. It will impact every publisher. All your settings, all your pricing rules need to be looked at. So yeah, this is something we're going to dive deep in next time. But at the moment, unified pricing is in open beta. In late May, it will start to be rolled out. 1% of the ad exchange traffic actually will be unified first price auction. Later on in June, it will be 5%. And then in July, it will transition to 100%. So there is a little transition period getting to this full unified pricing auction. Be sure to check in our next publisher webinar to find out more about this. So that's it for the webinar presentation. I think we're quite in time for the question round, Fabian. I hope I kept my timer well, and I'm really curious what the feedback is.
We are indeed. Thank you, Boy. So are there any questions coming in for the presentation? We obviously record the webinar as well, and we'll upload it to YouTube, and we will also send you the presentation. So you can always send question afterwards as well if you don't have any right now. So if there's any questions, please feel free to add them in the chat. All right, so there don't seem to be any questions, or let's say immediate questions, pressing questions.
I guess it should be good news, right?
For you, obviously, yeah. It is good news. And well, then the thing we can say is thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And our next webinar is scheduled in 2 weeks. We are then again showing a buy-side webinar. And the topic there will be a case on Transavia and everything related to, I think we need to jump one slide further. And we've got the topic in there as well. Okay, there's a question coming in from
let's go back.
When you export pixel segments, how can you sell the data to third parties?
Well, you can, but I don't think you would want to do that, because if you export a pixel, well, you have two scenarios. If you export a pixel to put it on your advertiser's website to help them building up audiences, you wouldn't want to sell it to third parties, because it's the audience of your advertiser, and you wouldn't want to monetize the audience of your advertiser that's already paying, unless they agree on doing that, but I cannot imagine that. But if you put the pixel within your own domains, where you have the own right to monetize the audiences, it works just the same as setting up the audiences through the ad manager data. You put the pixel on that website, it builds up the audiences within ad manager, and when those audiences are built up, it of course already starts from day one, you can use them within the buying platform DV360 to target them on different websites and find them there and buy ads.
Boy, did we just lose you?
Can you still hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Yes. Oh.
Just lost you.
I hope that not half of my story was gone.
I think almost everything was heard.
Yeah. So, but in short, yes, you can monetize audiences also with making pixels. I know Nicolas personally, so I'll reach out to you to talk a little bit more about it. If anyone else gets a question about this later on, please reach out to me. My email is actually in this slide, so you know where to find me.
All right, I hope the question was sufficiently answered. Otherwise, I think we can jump to the last slide and selfishly promote our next webinar. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to talk about a Transavia case study and the topic of taking marketing to the next level with Google Cloud. More to come in the next webinar, so stay tuned. And we will send out invitations for the next one as well. everyone will receive the presentation and the link to the YouTube as well. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, and see you at the next webinar.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.